So there is a possibility of life existing elsewhere in the universe. I really hope there is, and I hope they're intelligent. I hope they're more intelligent than we are. It would be really groundbreaking to discover bacteria, or what would be the equivalent of bacteria, on other worlds, right? But what we really want is somebody we can talk to, right? We're looking for intelligent life. So how could we possibly communicate over the vast distances of space with extraterrestrial life? And this is what we call SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, not just finding life, but communicating, something that has technological advancements on par with ours. Now, this is very different from the pseudoscience of ufology, right, which deals in conspiracy theories, which claims that the Earth has been visited for who knows how long by little green men. And there are, all these conspiracy theories about Roswell, which actually we know was a top secret balloon that was supposed to spy on the Soviet nuclear weapons program. Whole other story. Most UFO reports, UFO just means unidentified flying object. That means the person who sees it doesn't know what it is. But when you look into most, quote, UFOs, you find that most commonly it's either the planet Venus, people don't realize Venus is that bright, or it's a meteor, or it's a flock of birds, or it's a weather balloon. So most unidentified flying objects have fairly easy terrestrial explanations. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about true communication over interstellar distances with intelligent life. The people, again, have been suggesting this for a very long time. For example, in the 1820s, mathematician Carl Gauss said that we should reflect sunlight off of mirrors and beam it at planets in our own solar system, like flash, like Morse code. He also said that if there were extraterrestrials on other planets with really big telescopes looking at the Earth, we should find a way for them to realize that there are human-made structures on the Earth. And they're not going to see individual buildings. But for example, if we cut a huge triangle into a forest in Siberia and plant it with wheat, a giant triangle would be artificial, right? And so extraterrestrials would realize that there's some intelligent life who likes triangles. There was even suggestion that we reflect sunlight off mirrors on the Eiffel Tower, just to space in general, or specifically to Moon or towards Mars. If you read a lot of science fiction in the 1800s, people really thought that there might be life on the Moon. They didn't really know what the Moon was like back then. Now, modern SETI dates back to 1959. This is an actual scientific paper, peer-reviewed paper in a scientific journal, searching for interstellar communications. How about that title? And two physicists from Cornell University said that the way to actually communicate with extraterrestrials over large interstellar distances would be by using the electromagnetic spectrum, specifically in the microwave or radio part of the spectrum. And they talked about which wavelengths would probably be best for, wavelengths that would not be absorbed by interstellar dust or be misconstrued to be from some astronomical object. Since then, there have been sort of two different strategies that astronomers have used. Do we broadcast a signal out, or do we just sit here and listen and see if other intelligent species are broadcasting to us? Here's an example of a broadcast. From April, an example of listening. From April to July 1960, Frank Drake took this giant radio dish, about 85 feet wide, and what he did was he pointed it at some nearby stars that were very similar to the sun, about same mass, same brightness, same age. And for 6 hours a day, he just pointed this giant radio dish at these stars one at a time, and he just listened. And he didn't hear anything. So Project Ozma was, in a sense, a failure, but it was the first of many such projects. An example of an intentional broadcast was in 1974. This is the so-called Arecibo broadcast. So here's the Arecibo radio dish in Puerto Rico before it collapsed in on itself. And what they did was, rather than use Morse code, they used binary code, sort of ons and offs. And you can take a string of binary code, and if you make the number of bytes in that code a particular number, let's say 1679, well, 1679 can only be broken down into 1679 times 1, or 73 by 23. So 73 by 23, that gives you an idea that maybe this is a two-dimensional message rather than a one-dimensional stream of bits of information. And if you break these bytes of material, these ons and offs, these zeros and ones, into 73 by 23, you actually get a picture. And so if intelligent creatures got this message and realized that they should turn it into a 2 by 2 array, this is the picture that they would get. And so the question is, do you think they would understand what we were trying to tell them? So the first thing we did in this message was we taught them how to count from 1 to 10 in binary code. Then we told them what we're made out of by looking at the atomic numbers, because chemistry is the same everywhere, the atomic numbers of the elements that make up our bodies. Hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, phosphorus. Then we gave them some chemical formulas for molecules that are important to life, like water, sugar. And then we gave them a picture of DNA so they can see how we're made. A picture of a human being, doesn't that look like a person? The height of a human person and the world population at that time. We gave them a picture of the solar system. There's the sun. You can see that the Earth is offset, so that's the planet. And again, notice that Jupiter and Saturn look bigger because they're bigger planets. And a picture of the Arecibo radio telescope and the diameter of the telescope. Honestly, would they have been able to really decode that message? Probably not. But they hopefully would have been able to realize that it was an intentional signal sent by an intelligent species. Now, NASA has never really done a whole lot of this. The amount of money spent on this was the equivalent of one pizza per year per American. But in 1993, a senator from Nevada got his britches in a snit and made sure that NASA funding for SETI was lost and that NASA could not fund this again. So the SETI Institute was born, which is a private nonprofit scientific organization that continues to coordinate SETI exploration. They take donations, they apply for grants. The largest initiative to date was Project Phoenix, and they use private donations to fund huge observing campaigns to listen. They listened for more than 11,000 hours with radio telescopes, and no extraterrestrial signals were discovered. But since we send spacecraft into space, since we send these unhuman probes, like to visit the outer planets, a lot of these probes that fly by, they just keep going, and they're going to exit the solar system at some point. And so if there are extraterrestrials, perhaps they might come upon one of our spacecraft one day floating through space. So one of the things we did is on a couple of these that were going to the outer planets and beyond, we put these gold plaques. And again, it's a picture message from humanity. So here we have a little bit of chemistry. Here we have pictures of human beings. I could spend a whole lot of time talking about the politics of these people. First of all, they think that Earth is a nudist colony. Secondly, notice that the male is taller than the female, because that's always true on Earth, right? They have the female with longer hair and the male with short hair, because it's always that way on Earth, right? They have the male raising his hand in a greeting saying hello, because everybody around the world does that. The woman has both of her arms lowered because that's supposedly to show that we can move our arms up and down. Notice that the woman's feet are a little further apart than the man's. That's supposed to show that we can move our feet. I'll just leave it there. There's a whole lot wrong with this picture. Notice that we have a picture of the solar system down here with, again, the trajectory of the spacecraft going from Earth to Jupiter and then beyond. Again, it's an attempt to communicate. And then we sent the Voyager spacecraft, two more high-tech spacecraft out past the Jovian planets and beyond. And these included a gold picture disc, along with instructions on how to build a picture disc player. And if you go to this website, you can actually get the contents of this picture disc. There are pictures, there are sounds, there are greetings in like 100 languages, there are songs. Again, the politics of this, it is all very Eurocentric. Oh, it's just, yeah. Anyways, if you're interested, go check it out. In the first Star Trek motion picture, called Star Trek, the Motion Picture, Voyager actually gets captured by extraterrestrials who make it smarter and send it back looking for its creator. That doesn't end quite as we expect it to. If you've ever seen the movie Contact, which I highly recommend, starring Jodie Foster as an astrophysicist looking for extraterrestrial life, based on a novel written by Carl Sagan, it is actually loosely based on the character of Dr. Jill Tarter, who was the director of the SETI project. So are they out there? And are they out there? Well, they're certainly not like they are in Hollywood. Given the fact that we have found thousands of candidate exoplanets, and many of these are in the habitable zone, current estimates are that perhaps 1 in 5 stars might actually have an Earth-sized planet in the habitable zone. And given how many billions of stars there are in the galaxy, it would be amazing if there wasn't intelligent life elsewhere in the galaxy. Now, there are some scientists who think it's too dangerous to try to contact extraterrestrials, and the late Stephen Hawking was one of them. And he's basing this on what he knows about human history. Humans have colonized our own planet, and as hopefully you all know, humans have not exactly been nice to other humans. And so based on how humans who have explored our own Earth and come upon other types of people in other places, how badly we've been to them, Hawking said extraterrestrials are, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Well, we've done unto others on our planet pretty badly. Extraterrestrials might do just as badly to us. But Carl Sagan had a much more optimistic view of humanity in terms of once we get over ourselves and go into the cosmos, we can only do that by working together and by realizing that we need to take care of our planet. So I'm going to end this course on an optimistic note, and the very last video link is a video of a speech known as the Pale Blue Dot, written by Carl Sagan. And I know it always makes me cry, so hopefully it will touch you as well.